What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome in to CHGO Bulls Pregame, presented to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download that app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. What's going on, everybody? Peck. Happy Friday. You can follow me on Twitter, Bulls_Peck. My guys, Will the GOAT, Will_Gottlieb, Big Dave Bow, BAWO Sports. We are CHGO_Bulls on the Twitter machine. Shout out to Steven running the controls for us today, filling in for Joey, who jetted off to a wedding weekend. Hope he's having fun. Gentlemen, first things first, shout out and a round of applause to Will the GOAT Gottlieb for holding it down for the CHGO Bulls crew, making a deep run in the Friendsgiving ping pong tournament last night. Well done, sir. Well done.
You on mute, Will. You on mute.
My bad, guys. Can you hear me now?
Got you.
Oh, hi. Welcome, Will. How are you?
I don't know what just happened there. My mic got disconnected. I was just saying, Matt, you got totally screwed with the seating. I think if you and I were to have played in the first round, it would not have gone well for me. So, Nick Moriano.
I definitely have a bone to pick with Mark Carman, who was the commissioner of the ping pong tournament. That seating was absolutely bogus. It was fun, though. Good time hanging out with all of our CHGO family members last night.
Carm, what are we doing here?
Yeah, Nick ended up winning, right?
Nick lost in the finals. Didn't even avenge my loss with a championship.
Oh, right. Eric
he
okay.
lost to Eric, yeah.
Okay, shout out Eric. Yeah, Eric is serious, man.
He is serious.
All right, guys.
He goes, yeah, I was an all-state tennis player. No big deal.
All-state tennis. That's ridiculous. Bulls got a big test tonight. Late night game on ESPN. Bulls, Warriors in the Bay. We'll take a look at this Warriors team later on in pregame. First, I wanted to touch on something that David in the comments is already bringing up, saying, does ESPN think that the rest of the NBA is just a minor league team for the Lakers? These trade rumors are ridiculous. So we're talking about some other NBA national talking head stuff earlier in the week about how they should blow it up and trade away all their pieces to real teams, more interesting, et cetera, et cetera. The latest came off of Bill Simmons just talking about Zach Lowe chimed in on his podcast and said this. The trade I saw on Twitter was Russ Westbrook at both Lakers picks, one with light protections, I think, for DeRozan and Vucevic. Tell you 100% for sure that the Lakers have had internal discussions about that very possibility if it would ever up. Not to do that, let me be clear, end quote. Gentlemen, I've seen people on Twitter talking about this today saying, oh my gosh, the Bulls and Lakers are going to make this huge trade. The Bulls are going to blow it up. Send DeRozan and Vooch to the Lakers for Westbrook and picks. But I read that quote as is, which is Zach Lowe saying, yeah, from my sources, the Lakers would be interested in doing something like this. And they are talking about it internally. There is no one anywhere saying that they are actively talking to the Bulls about such a ridiculous trade.
Yeah, I'd like to do some breaking news right now that I've been having internal discussions that I would like to date Lupita Nyong'o, and I think that should be what the case. Like this is so
I
ridiculous.
knew that's where you're going with that.
It's so ridiculous, man. Like it's really ridiculous. Like, yeah, we want to do this. Great. I'm dumbfounded. Like I for real was at a loss of words reading this. Like, so what? And that's nice. Okay, you want players on your team. You want some good players. That's really nice. Congratulations, guys. But it takes two to do this. Like I've never seen it before like this. Maybe you guys have, but I honestly have never seen them say one team has had internal discussions about a trade that another team hasn't even spoken about, hasn't even discussed, haven't even touched on. Nothing out there. It's just writers and the Lakers are the only people talking about this. Nobody in the Bulls, nobody around them is having this discussion to make this kind of trade. And that's a great way that David put it, like a minor league team, like just treating them like they're gonna reach down to AAA and pull up whoever they want and just do it that way. It's really ridiculous to me. Like I wish I had another word for it, but it's really ridiculous.
It doesn't surprise me at all. Like, this is clearly information coming from the Lakers side, right? As you're saying, this clearly is not something that the Bulls are advertising that, oh, yeah, we'd like to get in on those 2027 and 2029 picks that the Lakers are, that they're dangling out there. It's the Lakers are trying to be good now. They've got LeBron. They've got these two assets that they're able to trade, and they're looking around for the best package. And is that going to be Buddy Hield and Miles Turner? Is it going to be, Jakob Poeltl and Josh Richardson and whoever else from the Spurs? Probably not. It's going to be DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic. Does that mean that the Bulls are going to trade those guys? Who knows? But like the source of that information is definitely coming from Lakers and Lakers side and Lakers sources. So it's not surprising to me at all. I had to pump out a story real quick after I saw that because, as we talked about it, Michael Pina wrote about it earlier this week. Bill Simmons was making up fake trades. Now Zach Lowe's talking about it. Kirk Goldsberry. So I had to just kind of lay out the situation. So you can check my Twitter for that story. But they're everybody's favorite team to talk about blowing it up because they're underperforming and underachieving, and they have good players. So, like, of course, that's like the only thing you can do is like pretend that you're a GM of a team and trade players, because that's what you do. If you're not a championship contender, then you have to go for the bottom. That's what you have to do.
Some great jokes being made in the comments for people chiming in on this. Colin, difference is that Dave's discussion about dating Lupiango might actually come true.
Come on, Colin. Come on, Colin.
I've had internal discussions about buying a Bugatti, but the dealership hasn't been returning my call. Our guy Brags from CHGO Bears saying, I'm having internal discussions to have a Taco Bell built into my backyard. Sources close to the situation are confirming my wife would leave me if the deal goes through. Y'all are foolish. That's the correct response to this, I think. It's cracking jokes on something that is itself a joke. Until we hear any concrete reporting from Woj or Shams or anybody on this Bulls beat about this, all it is the Lakers' wishful thinking to fix their dumpster fire of a team right now.
Correct.
Because I'm sure they would love DeMar DeRozan and maybe also Nikola Vucevic. So, yeah, there's that. Funny stuff happening from NBA talking heads who want to pick this Bulls team apart. But I guess there is this Bulls fan base that's kind of in that same line of thinking right now, as we've been discussing recently.
That's fair.
And, who knows? I'm sure those people will get louder if the Bulls get worked by the Warriors coming up tonight.
Screaming.
Yeesh. Real quick, we got to give a shout out to our friends at DraftKings. While we're doing that thumbs up button, when we come back from this break, we will be talking about Bulls' strength of schedule. Important context for those doomsayers out there in Bulls Nation. Today's episode of Pregame brought to you guys by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, top-rated sportsbook in America, official betting partner of the NBA, and our official betting partner at CHGO. Hoops fans, the NBA is heating up, which means you got to be getting in on the action with those incredible offers. The $5 money line bet pregame on any NBA matchup. And if you win that bet with your team winning that money line, you get $150 in free bets. Incredible deal. Plus, on top of that, there's all the amazing up to 100% boosted odds with all kinds of DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Get those parlays in for Bulls Warriors tonight. Who's scoring the most points? Who's grabbing the most boards? Who's dishing the most dimes? Anything and everything. How many threes is Steph hitting tonight? Take the over, probably.
Yes.
Put them all into a big parlay with CHGO Sportsbook. Jewel is earlier yesterday, these strength of schedule charts that we could take a look at, because I think it is for Bulls. Just the schedule has been through their first 20 games. There you see it there, just behind Portland. The Bulls have faced the second most difficult strength of schedule through their first 20 or so games at 2.22. I mean, look, as we were talking about whether or not to blow this team up, I think it's important context to think about the Bulls are going to have a kinder schedule in the month of December and moving forward. They are a few games under 500, but they've come through. They're still very within striking distance, guys.
Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I mean, it's reason for optimism. I think we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here with, that 6-10 start and then, a couple of good wins, but I think that's like a legitimate case for the Bulls to have some sense of optimism. You look at the net rating there, it's like minus 0.6 to be basically breaking even against the second hardest schedule in the league, I think is an indicator for, positive growth. The defense is still one of the top ones. The offense, I think, is struggling, but you presumably start to play some easier teams, and then the schedule just starts to lighten up, and maybe you put together some wins. So I think for the Bulls to just continue sort of operating the way that they have, continuing to grow the way that they have been, there's going to be setbacks, especially against some of these better teams. But teams are also shooting the basically 8th best effective field goal percentage against the Bulls. So they're suffering from really hard schedule. They're suffering from really efficient opponent shooting. They're playing good defense, and they're narrowly losing games. So I think that's a recipe there where you can start to say, all right, I don't want to make it sound like it's going to be the opposite of last season where you get Lonzo back and then all of a sudden you're 35-21 in your final 65 games. I don't think it's necessarily going to work like that, but I do think that they're going to be much closer to 500 or a couple games above than 3 or 4 or 5 games below.
Yeah, Steven, put that graphic up again, please. The first one. I'd like to just take a look at this. So look at the strength of schedule at the end, guys. So you see Portland at 2.48 and the Bulls at 2.22. The third team, the Heat, are behind by basically a mile with 1.28.
Almost double.
I mean, it's ridiculous how far back and the gap is between 2 and 3, just to show you how difficult the schedule has been for the Chicago Bulls. And just looking at that, the Portland Trailblazers, remember, they started off kind of hot, but then they fell off. Why? Because they have the hardest schedule in the NBA right now. So they're 11-11. They're at a 9 seed right now. They're tied with the Warriors, but behind the Warriors because they lost to them. But their schedule has been super tough also. But the Bulls, dealing with the injuries they're dealing with still trying to find themselves, dealing with finding the continuity and the consistency, dealing with the poor three-point shooting, dealing with Zach LaVine not being Zach LaVine yet, dealing with all that stuff, you still are out here 9-12, and still very much in the running, to be a playoff team. Because again, it's early on and there's so much parity right now. Nobody has really separated from the pack. So honestly, that's solid. That's a solid job with all they've been against and dealing with that hard schedule. But this is the other thing I want to point out. Steven, can you put up the second part of that graphic, please? I want to point this other part out to people. Now, look down there at the bottom, the easiest schedule. The easiest one is the Denver Nuggets. Shout out DNVR. And what are the Nuggets right now? 14-7. All right, they're second right now in the West. But that team above them, who has the second easiest, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who made the big old trade to get Rudy Gobert, who have him and Cat and Anthony Edwards, and have the second easiest schedule in the NBA, are also 11-11 at a 10 seed. That, ladies and gentlemen, is depressing. That is what depressing is. When you have the easiest schedule or the second easiest schedule in the league and all that talent that you have, and you still are struggling to win in this league right now, that is what you call depressing. Not having the toughest schedule and having everything together and still struggling trying to figure it out, but having all that shit together and still not performing and underperforming. That is depressing.
I want to say one thing on that because it ties back to the conversation. I just want one more thing about that because it ties back to the conversation we were just having of, should the Bulls blow it up? Are they doomed? Are they the most depressing? That's a team that's gone all in. They have nothing left to trade.
Correct.
They have younger guys. They have a guy, right? They have Anthony Edwards, Cat. The Bulls don't have a 21, 22-year-old superstar in the making like they do, but like they have given up everything. They have really no avenues to improve. So I think that's kind of the difference there. And then the other thing is like the Blazers being the one team that's had a harder schedule. That's a team who owes their pick to the Bulls. So they're holding on there. They're on the outside, hopefully looking at the play-in and maybe even that 6th seed to try to get in the playoffs. They've fallen off with Dame being injured, but hopefully the Bulls fans can start to say, all right, well, maybe they have some positive regression and they'll get into the playoffs and the Bulls can get like the 16th or 17th pick in the draft from them. That would be pretty nice.
Pretty
nice.
I think, and the other thing that's worth noting about the back end of that strength of schedule graph is you saw the two teams leading the East, Boston and Milwaukee, very near the bottom, like the 3rd and 4th easiest strength of schedules across the entire NBA. But then maybe more important than that, Bulls fans are thinking about 1 or 2 seed this season. But a lot of those teams that the Bulls are just narrowly behind at the back end of the Eastern Conference playoff picture right now, New York, Washington, Brooklyn, those teams in the bottom half of that strength of schedule with some of the easiest schedules in the league. So if you're talking about the Bulls needing a few games, all of those teams are teams.
Dude, and look, and I don't want Bulls fans, don't have a middle ground. Like we've discussed that many a day. Like there is no middle. Every day. That's either you're all in on it or it's nothing. Like you're either the top of the world or you're in the pits of hell. Like there is no in between for the Bulls. But that's why we wanted to discuss this as far as the schedule is concerned, because what's encouraging, as Will said, also, is if things turn around because you get an easier schedule. But dealing with all this hardship now is better than dealing with all that hardship later and still not knowing who you are. Bulls not knowing who they are early on and dealing with it and fighting through it and, losing tough games by buzzer beaters, that they should have won and, being a step late on rotations and having Billy Donovan yelling at you, like being out of character for this team. I'm happy it's going within the first 20, 30 games of the season when you're facing the hardest schedule, or second hardest schedule in the NBA. I'm happy to be doing this now than dealing with it later. Like, because I saw it last year, what it looks like when you deal with it later and you're figuring it out, because you had Lonzo missing, you hadn't figured it out yet. You were just trying to piece it together at that point in time. But this is what it does, man. Going through these hardships, can either break you or it can make you, and I'm hoping that it makes the Bulls because they've already been through that struggle last season in the second half. So going through this struggle, hopefully it helps make them stronger and elevates them as the schedule gets a little easier.
And that's, I think, first of all, exactly what Billy has been preaching this entire season and what DeMar has been saying this entire season. His whole thing is like, we're going to figure this out. It's going to be that one game and it's going to start to click and we're going to be on the right path. And once we get there, it's going to work for us. Billy's been saying the same thing. And to me, you look at, I think, especially that Celtics game coming off of the Magic loss. And I know I keep harping back on that. But like last year, especially down the stretch, this team would have crumbled. They just would have. Yeah. And they would have lost that game and they would be 5 games below 500 facing this road trip. Not able to beat adversity in any way. And I think we've already started to see them turn the corner with that a little bit. And so I think tonight is another great example of an opportunity where they can do that, where they can face a really good team who obviously defending champions, but really, really strong at home and sort of one of the last couple games of a really tough road trip. Like this is a real opportunity for the Bulls to come back from a terrible loss, giving up 51 points to Booker, and really make a statement and show that they're still up to these kind of challenges.
Shout out,
shout out in the comments. Happy birthday. All right, guys. Warriors night. obviously, it all starts and ends with Steph Curry, multi-time recently MVP, if any, in Warriors and average third currently, and it was ways he's on 90 season right now. There you see it, and his shooting nearly 52 from 33.5 from deep, 7 at the free throw line, and also chipping in on the glass and dishing 7 assists per game. Gentlemen, obviously we've been watching Steph do this forever. I know, Will, you and your years covering the Warriors got to watch Steph a lot, and I am jealous because to me, he is still the greatest show in the NBA right now. And so, like, what other than Steph fascinates you guys about this Warriors team that has struggled out of the gate for a team that just won the chip last season?
Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. One, Clay has taken a step back. Obviously, like, the injuries are the main reason why, and you can totally understand that. But I think even from where he was in the playoffs last year and leading up to it, he's just not quite there. I definitely side with him as opposed to Charles Barkley on that little debate that happened however many weeks ago. But, like, you give him time. He's going to have his moments. He went off for 40 like 2 weeks later. So he's going to be electric at times. I think for me, the struggle for them is how do they win minutes when they want Clay, Jordan Poole, and Steph on the court at the same time? 3 guys who do not defend at a really high level. Draymond, generational IQ, generational help defender, generational defensive quarterback, can only make up for so much, especially when he's not at the peak of his powers anymore. You want to see Moses Moody and John Kuminga start to take steps forward. I think they've been all right, but mostly underwhelming this year. Wiseman has been kind of a disaster. Warriors fans are, like, losing their mind about him. So I think for the Warriors, like, you come off this championship, you want, like, your core guys, they're going to be okay. Like, you want them to play well. They don't need to be, like, at their very peak, especially at the start of the season. But, like, you want to start to see that young group start to take a step forward. And I don't think that group has really done enough yet. But Kuminga has had a couple of good games in a row. Poole, we know, is, like, an ultra talented scorer. So I think they'll be all right. And hopefully they just don't catch their stride tonight.
I would say, like, Jordan Poole has been a surprise to me. And I know, he went through the whole thing he did with Draymond and everything like that. But, the fact he got his contract and, they're putting more on him, his numbers are down across the board. Field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, points, all that is pretty much down across the board. Just looking at his 3-point shooting, which obviously is big in Golden State, like, his last 3 games, he is 4 for 25 from the 3-point line. Like, he is really struggling from there. And there's an 0 of 8 game in there when they played against the Clippers. Like, he's really been struggling. Now they won 2 of those games, you know what I'm saying? So that's, again, the sign of a good team, is they can still win when a guy like that is still, struggling, because as we saw the numbers from Steph, he is out of this world. The dude is just really, truly, truly a special basketball player. But they're going to need this player right here. They're going to need some Jordan Poole magic. And it's one of the reasons why they're struggling. Like, one of our commenters pointed out, their defense is struggling. They're 24th in the league right now in defense. And that's something that they've always been pretty solid at. That's what Draymond, hangs his hat on right there. So there's something there that the Bulls can attack. But again, at home, they're different. They're a different basketball team playing at home than they are on the road. So again, the last 2 games, obviously, that they won, they were at home. So it's what they do. They play very well there. And we just hope Jordan Poole doesn't figure it out tonight. There's nothing you can do about Steph Curry. He is who he is. But you have to key on those other players around him, like Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson, and play your defense on those guys. And obviously put your best defender on Steph and hope for the best. But outside of that, that's what you're going to have to do in this game, and take advantage of the fact that they've been a little bit cold. They've been better at home, but still overall a little bit cold.
Well, speaking of Billy's best defenders, guys. Here's some big news. This tweet from Casey Johnson just a few minutes ago. Billy Donovan, all you Billy Donovan doesn't make adjustments, folks out there, Bulls Nation. Billy Donovan mixing things up tonight. He will start Alex Caruso in place of Ayo Dosunmu and Javonte Green in place of Patrick Williams. Guys, we just got a few minutes left here on pregame, but what's our reaction to this change from Billy for tonight's game?
Let's do it. Fine, great. You know what I'm saying? You know what my MO has been, Matt. He's not beholden to any lineup. You know that's been my MO from the jump street. Cool. Your 9 and 12 things haven't been going right for you. Try something new. Continuing to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results is the definition of insanity. So good for showing me that you're not insane and you want to try something different. So cool. Put it out there. Let's see what it looks like. If that doesn't work, then we'll try something else. So I'm completely all right with it. Let's go.
Yeah, I was just looking this up as we were talking here because it kind of took me by surprise. Like, I think it's the right move. Pat and Ayo have both been struggling lately. We talked about it last game. Like, I was shooting 12% on threes his last 10 games. Patrick has been relatively invisible, and against a team like the Warriors, you need to have your best defenders out there. You need to give yourself the best chance to, space the floor and defend at a high level. I think this lineup probably has the highest upside to do that. So I was just looking it up. This group has only played 2 possessions together this year, which is really shocking to me. 2 possessions, that's nothing. Plus 83 and points per 100 in those minutes. So there's real upside. I think it's the best lineup. I think that's kind of what I was thinking would be the starting lineup during preseason. But we haven't seen it much. What we have seen has done well, but it's really not enough to know anything. So we'll see. I think the numbers could take a hit on this one just because of their playing. But in my opinion, this is probably the Bulls' strongest lineup with the roster as is.
Let me ask you, Will, what number, when you say the numbers might take a hit, do you mean the starting lineup or do you mean the bench?
I just mean like this group has only played 2 possessions, right? So if they go out there tonight and play, 50 possessions together and they get absolutely smoked, those numbers are not going to look good. So it's going to drag down the averages just because there's basically 0 sample. But I think this is a group where you'd want to give it a little bit more runway throughout the course of the season to gather some more data and kind of understand what this group does and not just let this one game against the Warriors dominate the sample size.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. We've reached 9:00 Chicago time. Tip-off just around the corner. Lakers Bucks finishing up. A couple minutes left in that game. Lakers lead 128-126 over Milwaukee right now. Real quick before we get out of here, just wanted to give y'all another reminder about our CHGO Bulls takeover happening on Friday, December 16th. Bulls versus Knicks. Gonna be a lot of fun. Here's the deal. You buy a ticket package for our takeover, include drinks at Crossroads Bar just across the street from our West Loop studios and a short jaunt to the United Center. It includes a shuttle from Crossroads Bar to the Mouse with us and a ticket to hang out with us. It's going to be time. Tickets are available to both CHGO diehards and people who haven't made the wise decision yet to become a CHGO diehard. There is a pinned tweet at the top of CHGO_Bulls right now with links to both different access to tickets. We'll go through our All CHGO website and the CHGO diehard events section of that website. Non-diehards can get their tickets at Eventbrite. Have some fun with us. Hang out at a Bulls.
Come get these hugs. Come get these hugs, Bulls Nation. Plenty of love to be given out at this
game. We will see you back here.
Happy birthday, Dreads. Happy birthday, Dreads.